Joining me now to discuss this is Greg Smith, Conservative MP for Buckingham, and Vicky Price, Chief Economic Advisor at the Centre for Economic and Business Research, is still with us. Greg, thanks for joining us here on The Money. Very nice to see you. What's your view on whether or not the government should now move to scrap VAT on fuel bills?
Well, I have an enormous amount of sympathy for that position. As you said in your intro just there, it is just 5%. And in the scheme of things, the way bills are already going up and the way we expect them to go up in April, we probably need to find a way to go a bit further than just 5%. But 5% will undoubtedly help. I was one of about 20 Conservative MPs that signed a letter that got some publicity a couple of weeks ago saying we need to scrap VAT on fuel, and we also need to look not to dismiss net zero, not to dismiss the environmental challenges we've got, but to look as we transition away from fossil fuels and to greener technologies at securing our own domestic energy supply so that we're not as reliant on importing gas and other power and fuels from abroad, but are actually looking to shore up our own supplies to try and do something about stabilising the market. And thirdly, to look at some of the green levies that exist on energy bills. On electricity bills, for example, green levies can be up to about 24% of the entire bill. And I think we need to take a step back to look at where the industry is, where technologies are being developed by scientists and the private sector to deliver green energy in the future, and to try and take the state back a couple of steps in that to get that burden off people's fuel bills.
Now, your colleague Anne-Marie Milton, in the Labour Opposition Day debate in Parliament on Tuesday, actually voted for the Labour motion to scrap VAT on fuel bills. And the government whips took the whip away from her, a sort of parliamentary slap on the wrist. It seems the government is quite nervous about moves within Parliament to try and force the Treasury to do what we're now allowed to do because we left the European Union, and actually scrap VAT on fuel and make it zero rated. Greg, with your political antenna, do you think there is movement in the Treasury? Do you think there is movement in Downing Street on this issue, albeit at the moment they've got their mind on various other problems?
I think the mood music in Parliament is very much in favour of doing something about fuel bills, and VAT is one of the few levers the government actually has to make a difference. You know, you can't buck the international market, but you can do something about the levels of taxation. If I may, just on the vote on Tuesday, it was not a straightforward vote at all. In fact, the Labour Party could well have got Conservative support behind it if they hadn't made it more about the Labour Party getting control of the House of Commons order paper rather than a straight vote on whether VAT should be reduced on fuel bills. That might sound all very procedural and technical, but actually it's a really important point that what Labour were actually asking people to do in sort of the ineptitude of their opposition at the moment was essentially take away control of the business of the House of Commons from the elected government and put it in their hands. And I think you and your viewers will understand why Conservative MPs, bar one, who, as you said, lost the whip over it, just couldn't surrender control of the House of Commons business to the opposition.
It's like the Brexit wars all over again.